Welcome to my super flat world for creative YouTube redstone builds and other tutorials. Today we're going to be revisiting one of my super furnaces. So this is a bedrock only build, and it is optimized to use the smallest amount of materials possible with the biggest yield. I believe it is a really efficient super furnace that you should be using in your Minecraft world. So let's go ahead and just jump into the redstone. First, we're going to be utilizing a few smart piston concepts. So this is a basic smart piston here. We have a redstone torch and two pieces of redstone dust leading into a piston. Now, we're going to grab this little furnace, and the furnace counts as a solid block. So when we place it above this redstone torch, it gets powered, which then powers this redstone and pushes the furnace off. So let's just demonstrate. So that's how that looks. So we can actually take this and use it to build a piston feed tape, which is another easy redstone mechanic. And we can also just look at what happens when we use a transparent block. So when we use a transparent block, it does not move at all because it does not get powered by the redstone. Now we're going to actually take advantage of the fact that an observer is a transparent block to build an even more concise piston feed tape to shuffle our furnaces around. So that's the main mechanic here, is the piston feed tape. Now let's move on to another mechanic, one of which is when the observer moves, it will trigger redstone as a pulse, as you can see here. So we're going to combine these few mechanics and create a quick little furnace system. So here's the compact version. This is the smallest version you can make, I believe. It is using only a few furnaces, a few pistons. It's quite compact, very small, but it does its job pretty well. So let's go ahead and look at the required building blocks. So for the compact version, you simply need 14 building blocks, and this could be anything just to put the redstone and pistons on. You will need 4 optional blocks. This could be anything at all. Really, you can think about it as 16 building blocks, but I put these 4 as optional because there's no redstone on them. So technically, you could even put leaves and other stuff for that. Now, you will need 1 solid block, and this is for the fueling system. So the fueling system requires 1 solid block, and the piston feed tape requires 1 observer, 4 pistons, 4 redstone dust, or redstone torch, 10 redstone dusts. You'll need 5 chests for the loading and unloading, 3 hoppers, and 5 furnaces for your furnace array. So this is the compact version, so we're using very, very minimal furnaces. And then to shut off the system, you will need 1 observer, 1 sticky piston, a lever, and an optional block. I like to use a redstone lamp just as an indicator that the farm is on and running. Now to make this bigger, the only thing that increases is the number of furnaces you use. And if you would like a couple more hoppers for the output chest, just to pull from the whole row instead of just this one furnace. Now let's go ahead and just demonstrate how it works. So items that you would like smelted go in the top, and items for the fuel chest go right here. And they are queued up into this solid block, and this is that optional solid block that you need. This is so the items can be queued without auto smelting in a single furnace, so it only starts smelting when you turn it on. Let's go ahead and turn it on. Let's pull this lever down. That pushes this observer into position, which initiates this piston feed tape. Now it will actually be cycling around, pulling in fuel items and smelting items into the hopper. Now from initial testing, it looks like it would pull a single fuel source into the furnace. So maybe that's a lava bucket or a cauldron, every rotation it gets a single one. So every time it's in this filling position, it loads up one piece of fuel, and it seems like 2 cobblestone or 2 items to be smelted get loaded in. Now it doesn't do anything for the observer and the solid block. Those are simply there so we can actually turn off the system and it completes a full rotation before coming to a stop. Now, just like the items are being pulled in for the fuel, we have a single output chest here, so every time the item slides past this hopper, it will pull into the hopper and output the items that are finished smelting. Now this is the compact version. We can go ahead and extend this to a bigger version, which I did over here. Now this is basically the same exact setup, all of the same smart pistons, and it's very easy to build. And then we just extended this out to piston limit here. And now technically we could also extend it backwards. So this isn't even the biggest version. We could have a giant square where every side is at piston limit, push limit. And this would give us a large number of furnaces, but I think this version works really nicely and would serve our purposes just fine. So here is our fuel chest with blocks of coal. Here is our items to be smelted, and let's go ahead and just put a single chest down to see how many items actually get pulled. Now we can't put the hopper here because it would get locked actually, so let's just painfully break this chest with a shovel. And let's put the hopper here, or the chest and the hopper. I regret putting it backwards, but you know what? I'm not in creative right now. And this will pull 2 items from here, and let's turn that on and see how many items we can pull. So it looks like it pulls about 2 items per hopper, so it's actually on pace with the item loading, which is very good. And you can just leave this running for a while, and it slides by and pulls the items that are smelted and keeps rotating to keep fueling and stocking the items. And it's just using this nice piston feed tape. We can go into a little bit more explanation here. Let's go ahead and pause this farm and explain the redstone just a little bit more. Let's turn it off. Now, the reason why I was able to make this even more compact than previous designs is because this observer here, I figured out that it will cycle and it will actually hit this powered block using this mechanic here, where when it moves and it powers a solid block, it will trigger redstone. And then also to stop this system, I'm using a transparent block with a smart piston. So combining those 2 ideas, you could actually cycle it around, and when it comes back to here, it stops because the smart piston fails to fire, but it'll fire on every other block. And then when it's moving around here, normally you have a problem with whenever the observer gets to a stopping point, it will fail to fire because it does not trigger this smart piston. So the solution is to have a solid block in line, so when the observer moves this way, it powers the solid block behind it, and that also triggers the piston. So I have the option of either the piston gets fired by the observer, or because it's a smart piston, one or the other. And on some of that, I had to actually extend the redstone just a tiny bit. For when the observer came this way, it powered the solid block here, and then refed into the piston, moving it. And then the same thing here, the observer is still looking this direction, it gets moved, it triggers this piece of redstone dust, and triggers the piston. So this way you can actually cycle it completely around and getting the full item filters going, and you can just leave this running for a while. And you can see it's just going to pull all your items and smelt it. Now this is incredibly efficient, especially iron efficient, because normal designs uses a whole bunch of hoppers, a whole bunch of minecart rails and chests, and you have to deal with loading and unloading systems, making sure everything's evenly distributed. But here with a piston feed tape, we can actually guarantee even distributions with absolutely no abundance of iron. It's just a number of hoppers we need to load it, and we can shove the furnaces around on a clock. This is much easier. Now you can actually change the piston feed tape design if you'd like. You can do it on hopper clocks to slow down the piston feed tape. And that might actually guarantee like more fuel is being loaded, more items are being loaded. But this design I think is pretty clean and it looks pretty nice and it's easy to decorate. Let's go ahead and jump into creative. And let's actually build one more copy of this, just because one of the benefits of this build is it's incredibly easy to build. It's very easy to understand. So let's go ahead and grab our hoppers. Let's grab our chest. Now it should require the same amount of materials as here. The only difference is more furnaces. Everything else is the exact same and more, well, actually just more optional blocks because all we do is extend the distance between the redstone chunks here. So let's go ahead and just build one. Let's go ahead and start it over here. And I'm going to be jumping back and forth and referencing this build a little bit, but it shouldn't be too bad. So let's start with the first concept, which is a smart piston, and we're going to choose this side to be the loading system. So let's go ahead and put a smart piston. We just need redstone and a redstone torch and a piston. Beautiful. And now, the way I do it is I usually just grab a furnace or a solid block, and you can go back and swap them out for furnaces later, and you just throw it in, and then you just click, click, click. However long you want to make it, this is how you decide. I'm going to go again to piston limit, just to show you that. Okay, so we did hit piston limit, so I'm going to break, and then I'm going to come over here, and this block needs to be pushed over, because it is at the limit of the piston's ability. So in order to do that, I need to place a piston this way to push it this direction. And we turn that into a smart piston. As easy as that. And now we come back here and we just keep firing pistons in until we want to get to the depth that we want to. If we want to do this at piston limit, we can go much further. I'm going to keep it at just one solid distance, just like the one over there. And again, you just set up a smart piston. It's just a whole bunch of smart pistons, basically. So, redstone torch somewhere, paste, and piston. And if you do it this way, it doesn't auto-push it, actually. So, you should actually put the torch in last, just so it pushes it for you. Beautiful. And I'm going to come back and just keep feeding the tape. So, boom, boom. Really simple to set up. And because I did piston limit, I know that this is the limit. But even if you don't, like obviously this is where you want it to keep coming this way. So now we set up another smart piston. I like repeated patterns. I hope everyone else does. Boom, and paste. And I did the same issue before where you should put the piece of dust last. Then you just crawl out or whatever. And here is the basic setup. Now, if you've noticed, I used one more furnace than I actually needed because I need to set up my observer. So let's set up the observer, and we're going to have it looking this direction. So the redstone fires into this piston here. And we're going to break this and make it a solid block here. Now, it could be any solid block. The key is that it still needs to trigger these smart pistons, and then the observer will trigger everything else. But we're going to see that I actually misplaced one piece of redstone or two. I did that on purpose just to check the system. So now, with this being here at rest, we need a pulse. actually initialize the piston feed tape. Now the way I solved this is I incorporated another observer, and now this will keep pulsing every time it runs around, and we can actually just see that here. It will now keep pulsing forever and ever until the observer actually hits my mistake, which looks like it's right there. So this observer is powering this block, so that means I need to actually put a redstone piece there, and let's just fix the system. And again here, this powers here, so we need to just extend this redstone piece right here. And let's get the system moving again real quick. And now this should actually be spinning around forever. That is the entire piston feed tape done. It is that easy. It's pretty mindless, to be honest. You just throw piston feed tapes in, and then you just put a couple pieces of paste where you see it hit that breaking point. And now everything is working, and we just need a way to shut it off. So to shut it off, we're going to use a sticky piston and a lever. And we're just going to actually pull this observer away from its position. So I need to go up one more here. There we go. And here, now it's kind of odd. It did shut off by itself. What happened here? That's very strange. It looks like a furnace glitched out of existence. That is strange. I lost a furnace somehow. Let's go ahead and start the system up. That's never happened to me before. Maybe it's on a chunk border or something. I would definitely try this out in your world, though. It does seem pretty efficient. I think that was just a creative bug that happened. And now let's create our shut-off valve. Now do a solid block, or you can do a light indicator, which I like to do. So let's go ahead and grab a redstone lamp here. Just because I think this looks good. And let's grab our observer and pull it up. So now the farm is off. It will continue to cycle until the observer is back in the starting position. And this just guarantees that you don't have something like partially filling. It returns to this non-fill station. And this is where we can put in the fuel source. So let's go ahead and put a fuel hopper and then an item hopper. And you can use barrels or double chests or something, but I like the fact that the double chests hang out a little closer to this front face. So let's go ahead and just do that. So chest, and chest, and chest. Now we have one for fuel and one for items. And that's it. That's basically it, I guess. We should add a unloading system. And I'm going to actually just double the speed here by just adding a... Actually, let's test to see if this actually changes it, because I want to say that the hopper is efficient enough, because it's keeping up with the input, that nothing will hit this second chest, because the hopper pulls 2 items as 2 items are smelted, or 2 items can go in. But let's just do a quick little test to see if that's actually true. So let's queue up a bunch of sand or something to smelt, and a bunch of blocks. Let's go ahead and grab some sand or something. Let's just do cobblestone again because it's here. Okay, cobble, 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 and it's going into the hopper, but not the not in any furnaces, so that's good. And now let's get our block of coal. And let's put 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And might as well put the 6 in. Perfect. And now that's actually loading up. I could turn it on now, but I want to see... Okay, that's at least 1 stack. That's good. This is getting there. That should be good. Let's just turn it on. Okay, boom, and it's rotating, and they're lighting up and going around. Now, obviously, the items haven't smelted yet, but it is going to go around, loop around, and then when they actually do smelt, it'll continue to loop because it is in the on position. So this will continue to trigger that redstone via that observer. And it also triggers the smart pistons. And so, but either way, the piston fires at good timings, so everything is good. Let's go ahead and check this. We have 16, and we actually do have some, but it's very little, as you can see. Only 2 items, 3 items. And so what's probably happening here is this is pulling 2 at a time, and then occasionally it finishes smelting some by the time it hits the second one. So it might actually be not worth too much to like have a whole line of hoppers. You might as well just have the single one and just do a few double chests and just let it rotate around and load up your system. Now when you do turn it off, the only downside is technically there is no way to continue to pull out the items to empty the rest. Now you could solve this with a ring of hoppers around it, but that's just increasing the iron. So if you don't mind having like approximately a few pieces backlog, this is fine. If you do really mind that, I would suggest just putting a hopper minecart track underneath and just load pulling items that way. That is probably the most iron efficient. But I don't mind having just a few backlogs, especially because when you clear it, you can just keep it rotating around, and they will eventually clear once you're out of items being deposited. It will just be looping around, unloading the items, and that is all. So yes, this is my optimized furnace array super smelter, whatever you want to call it. Very low iron count, very easy redstone. Very simple, and I think the design looks really nice. I think it's very flat, easy to decorate, and I think it should go in all of your Bedrock builds. But that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Check me out on YouTube. Badrooster17 is the channel. Let me know comments if you have any decorations, like you implemented this and decorate it. Leave some images, post them, just put them in the YouTube feeds or comment. I'll find a way to check them out. But I would like to see your guys' builds and what you guys thought or comments on it. If there's any glitches you find you want to point out, any optimizations, feel free to leave that as well. I do want to know what you guys are doing. And if you liked my video, please like and subscribe. Thank you. Have a good one.